Bill Vasey, legally William Vasey,
Okay,
and this is my wife, Mary Jane.
okay.
So, what branch of the military did you serve?
I was in the field artillery, which is the Army.
Did you like get any awards or
Did I
what?
what?
Awards?
No, not really.
No.
Like, what was your rank?
What was your rank
Your rank?
I was a first lieutenant when I got out.
when you? Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of the history with it. I went to college in Colorado. It was Colorado State now. It was Colorado A&M when I was there. And I started there in 1948. I went into ROTC, which is Reserve Officer Training Corps. The first 2 years were required because it is a land-grant college. At that time, they required it. Then I went into advanced ROTC my junior and senior year. I graduated from college about the first week in June of 1953 and reported to Fort Sill, Oklahoma 1 month later. Was there for about 4 months in special training. And I went in as a second lieutenant, which was, well, it was really a huge advantage for me, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And when that 4 months training was over, there were 125 of us in this group that went through in the one class. And they started out, number 1 on the list went to Korea. Number 2 went to Germany. Number 3 went to Korea. I went to Germany, to
Sweet.
southern Germany,
How long were you there for?
18 months.
18 months.
And I had my car over there. I drove to New York to go overseas. And my car was loaded on the same ship that it was a Victory ship that I was on, and small one. And I got into Germany and reported to my duty Christmas Eve of
How did it-
1953.
How did your family feel about you like going into the military?
Well, they of course approved of it very definitely.
Yeah.
My father was the wrong age to go into the First World War. And then, of course, by the time the Second World War broke out, he was too old.
How long did he serve for?
The-
Your father?
No, he never
Oh.
was in the Army.
Okay.
No, he was too young for the First World War and too old for the Second
Second.
World War.
Okay.
Yeah.
What like foods did you eat when you like down there?
What was your
What's it
favorite?
like?
Was there food that you liked eating down there? Or?
Well, of course, I was in Germany,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the food in Germany is good. I got a thing that buzzes here at 1 o'clock, so I got to just push it.
You're all right. You're all right.
That reminds
Like-
me that I should take a pill, which I have over. Yeah,
What was the food like?
well,
Like what they served?
Wiener Schnitzel is a favorite of all, and that's beef, but out of young calf is the Wiener Schnitzel.
So it is the same as the same beef that we have now.
Now, in fact, you probably go into some German restaurants and you can still get Wiener Schnitzel. But of course, the one thing that Germany is famous for is their beer. And I never, truthfully say, went through college, high school, never once ever drank aged beer whole. But I did enjoy the beer in Germany. It's real heavy, a lot of flavor, and it just automatic with your food. They
Yeah.
bring it.
Yeah.
The one thing that's a little different than most places, they always serve bread, and if you wanted butter, you had to order butter.
Butter. Separately.
They served the bread, but it never
Came with butter.
came with butter.
You always had to ask.
The vegetables were good, and we ate out in the German economy a lot. In those times, in the 50s, of course, being in the Army made a lot of difference too, but we could buy a good-sized meal with the beer out on the German market for $2, which in German money was $8, but their dollar was a quarter for us.
So wait, how old were you when you like went to Germany?
All right, now in 1953, I was 23 years old.
How'd you like communicate with your family when you were down in Germany?
You did it by mail.
Yeah.
Didn't have computers.
So you had to write a letter and send it
Yeah.
down. They'd write back.
Couldn't, any place that I ever was, we never were able to talk long distance on the telephone.
Okay.
Do you have any like good memories down there, or maybe some bad ones?
Well, my situation would basically have to be good memories. I had a car that my brother and I had bought when we were in college and shared it. I went in the Army and he went into vet school. And that's the car that I took overseas. It was a 1949 red Plymouth convertible I had in Germany. And we did a lot of traveling, particularly on weekends. So I had a lot of really good memories. I got involved with special services with the photography when I was there, and did my own printing and enlarging, developing. That was kind of a fun.
Fun thing to do.
Mhm.
Were the people down there like nice to you and to you guys?
Very definitely. Very, it was interesting because very few people ever admitted being a fascist
Yeah.
or follow Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
If they ever did, they didn't ever admit it.
Yeah.
I had one individual that was with the Special Services photography. He was a displaced person not from Germany, I forget where it was, but the Russians had gone through and liberated this town, and then his family all immigrated then into Germany, and he had a young son and a wife, and he even traveled with me a couple of times. He spoke pretty good English. A couple of times. He spoke pretty good English.
So like, what was your duty again? Like, what did you have to do? Like,
What was your main role that you had to do?
Well, as a second lieutenant, when I first started out there, that meant that I was second in command to a battery, which was about 100 guys. It was field artillery, and we had 6 howitzers, and then we had 6 big track vehicles that pulled the howitzers. And basically, that's what we did. We'd go on maneuvers a couple of times a year. We'd be gone for a week and go off into this one training area and set up guns and fire. I think it was my second, well, I'd say I got in there Christmas Eve. It would have been about February, the following February. the battalion mess officer, the battalion would have been 4 batteries plus service batteries, been five batteries, about 500-600 guys, had a mess hall. And the officer that was in charge of that got shipped back to the United States, and so I was battalion mess officer for about 3 or 4 months. But basically, we did training pretty much regular. We were on call
All the time?
emergency available. If we got an emergency call, well, we had to be in the vehicles and moving.
Yeah.
I had one period of time, it would have been later that first full year, I was transferred to a different battery, firing battery. And the guy that was the captain, that was the commander of that battery, I was second behind him. He was real interested in athletics, and he accumulated all the athletes, and they would go off to football, basketball. This particular deal was volleyball, and he had 3 or 4 of these young guys come back from football, and then he had several others that were going to play basketball and hadn't yet. And he asked me if I had ever played volleyball. Well, I had in college, intramurals type stuff, but it was pretty heavy. And he said, I'm going to give you these guys, and he gave me 8 guys, and he said, just play volleyball. That's all we did for about 3 months. We won our area, we won the division, and we went to European championships, and quite a deal. We didn't win, but we had a lot of fun.
Did you get it injured pretty bad, or any wounds?
No.
No.
No, I had shells land close, but they were accidental. Actually, I was never in any combat whatsoever. You know. Really, really very fortunate.
Yeah.
I had my car and had a lot of privileges as lieutenant.
Yes.
After I'd been there about a year, I made first lieutenant, which was quite an increase in pay. And
Did you know when you were supposed to come back back home?
I originally was scheduled to come back in June of '55, and they had a surplus of officers at that time. So I got out 3 months earlier. I got out in March. And I had 30 days leave and 2 weeks to take that leave. And so I started out by myself driving. I was going to go to Rome, Italy. And I got into northern Italy, and unfortunately I fell asleep and had a head-on collision.
Oh.
Lucky I wasn't killed, really.
Yes. Yeah. Very.
It totally destroyed the car.
Very lucky.
And ended up rigged up a deal with one of the guys in our battalion that we rigged up, pulled that car back to Munich, Germany, to a salvage yard, and just left it there. And then, very shortly after that, then I shipped out and came back to the United States. We had, Mary Jane's going to attest to this, I had a lot of really close friends, which you do when you get
Yes.
in the Army.
Yes.
There was a young man, Texas A&M graduate, that was my battery commander, and he was a little bitty guy, really a nice guy, he was full-blown military. Another young man from Texas A&M, another man from Barela, Kentucky, and the bunch of us had reunions after we all got back to the United States. Mary Jane got involved with all of them.
May I interrupt, because you should tell about the black one.
Yeah, well, that's right. Pete Brown from Los Angeles. He was black, and his wife was there in Germany. The guy from Kentucky, his wife was there. And the battery commander, the little guy, I was the best man for his wedding. He married a German girl over in Germany. The Pete Brown, the black man, was a tennis pro, and he went all over Europe playing tennis. Came back to the United States. He never played professionally. He was a coach, and he won all kinds of honors as a coach. And we've been to Kentucky to that man. He and his wife are both gone now. 2 to 3 different times. And we've been down to Texas probably 3 times to see those guys. And then the man in Los Angeles, Pete, in fact, we stopped there on our honeymoon and spent some time with him. And really, really,
Well, in fact, we heard from her at Christmas time.
yeah, we still do.
Okay.
Gillespie, really, really good friend.
Did you lose any close friends in Germany?
Yeah, they were, I would call them very close. Yeah.
He said, did you lose any?
Any?
Lose any?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No. No.
Okay. Do you have any like medals or any
Memorabilia.
memorabilia?
Any medals I have would be just for being overseas.
Yeah.
I guess I probably have 3 or 4, but I don't.
Any
I did.
photos? Maybe.
Did what?
Do you have any photos that you took down there?
You want to see some?
Well, it's fine if you don't have them.
It's fine if you
I've
don't.
got them in the back of the car.
Oh,
Okay, yes, we would like to see them.
Yeah, I'll go get them for you.
Okay, all right.
Let's just